Welcome to Behind the Investigation. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe with Atlanta News First Investigates, and I'm joined now by Harry Samler, the man behind Better Call Harry on Atlanta News First. Harry, always great to have you here.
Brendan, good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is a different one today that we're doing, kind of not the norm of what we do.
Yeah, this is good because, you know, they say some of the great stories are road stories, right? That, you know, when you think of the great movies, there's the buddy movie, there's sort of the fish out of water movie, and then there's the road movie. This is a road movie, or at least an attempted road movie, because you had two people who are a couple trying to go on sort of a trip of a lifetime, or at least the test trip of a lifetime, by trying out rail travel. It's so romantic in Europe, and sometimes in the United States it can be less so. So tell us about this story. We'll take a look, and then we'll talk about it afterward.
All right, so first of all, I do want to say, the idea of taking a train somewhere I think is wonderful, and I don't think people should look at the story you're about to see and go, I'm not going to use Amtrak vacations. There's some really good deals, and they got a really good deal on this trip. But this just kind of went in a different direction, and you know, part of the lure of the vacation is the train, and then all of a sudden the train trip got canceled. So here's this couple going, what do we do now?
Right.
And how, do we get our money back? And Amtrak wasn't going to do it.
So it's the journey, not the destination, as they say. That's the cliche. And that's the whole reason for rail travel, at least until high-speed rail comes about, you know, in more than just the Acela line in the Northeast. They're talking about these high-speed lines all over the country. But other than that, it's sort of the slow road to enjoy the trip. So this trip they're taking to New Orleans, correct? They could have taken an airline, or they could have driven or taken a bus. But in this case, they wanted to take the train because it was all about testing rail travel to see if they wanted to do a big trip.
It was about the train. It was about the fact that they could get up and walk around or sit in the dining car and do all these things and not really worry about the time. And then if they liked it, they were going to go on a bigger trip.
Okay, so I don't want to give anything away, but the train is very different than the bus, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's take a look and we'll talk about it afterward.
Here's how Marissa Blakely spent her vacation. It was a couch staycation. What a shame. Blakely and her husband Kelvin wanted to try Amtrak. If you didn't know, we didn't. Amtrak promotes ridership by offering pretty good vacation packages wherever it goes. The Blakeleys wanted to try New Orleans.
You know, they went over different things we could do. It sounded exciting. They advertised Dream Vacation. I thought this will be my dream vacation. I've always wanted to be on a train. And so I went ahead and booked it.
Departure date August 23rd. On August 21st,
this is Amtrak calling about an upcoming
the
trip.
couple received an automated message that ruined their plans.
The first lady I spoke to told me it was because of the weather. And I'm thinking in my head, y'all can't, the train doesn't work in hot weather, I don't understand. But the second lady said it was track repair.
The Crescent from Atlanta to New Orleans was canceled.
We wanted to let you know that train number 19, the Crescent from Atlanta, Georgia, on Wednesday, August 23rd, has been canceled due to a service disruption. Unfortunately, we don't have other transportation available.
A canceled flight is one thing, but a train trip or a cruise is part of the vacation experience, and Amtrak offered a bus. No offense, Greyhound, but they wanted the dining car and a sleeper cabin, and besides, Mr. Blakely can't sit for long.
On a bus? That's been like 10, 12 hours getting down there on the bus. I can't do it. You know, I play college basketball, I play high school basketball, and none of these is killing me.
The Blakeleys say Amtrak argued that they still had the vacation portion of their trip, a week at the Wyndham New Orleans in the French Quarter, plus a tour of the above-ground cemeteries and a swamp tour. Et c'est le bon temps roulé. But imagine this call from a cruise line.
Hi, this is the cruise line. The boat is broken. We're still going to get you there, but can you row?
So the Blakeleys canceled. They got a 50% refund and a staycation until we got involved. On Monday, an Amtrak representative called the couple and provided a 100% refund.
How do you feel about that?
I'm so happy. I told the guy I was talking to, his name was Jamal, that when I hang up this phone or put this phone down, I'm going to do a little dance.
No hard feelings. The Blakeleys will give Amtrak another try, and this time they will travel in style.
Oh, here we go. I'm going to wear this with pride.
I just want to say that was our first T-shirt giveaway. And they changed for their 41st anniversary, and they wore the Atlanta News First Better Call Harry T-shirts to
I don't
dinner.
even have one of those, and I work here, so I mean, this is something you get.
I'll sell you one.
Well, I have to get my money back first, right? You have to get my money back.
That's
and then
right.
I can get the shirt. That's fantastic, and I'm so glad that just the look on their faces. Our whole team was delighting when you shared the look on their faces, because out of our entire 5-person on-air investigative unit, you're the one who really makes people happy. I'm the one who goes and holds them accountable. But what you do is you get to really deliver results for people, and that makes all the difference. I know it's the real pay of the job for you when you go home and say, I helped some people today, and you certainly did with them. So they're made whole. They're getting all of their money back, right?
Yeah, they're getting their money back, and they're going to take a train trip. They're not discounting using the. They're
So
going
everybody wins.
Everybody wins. They're still going to take the train, and of course, if the tracks are closed or for whatever reason, they always know that they can call us and we'll contact Amtrak. But one thing I want to mention, trip insurance. Amtrak offers trip insurance, and they had purchased it the first time around. It was $200, which basically it allowed them to cancel the entire trip and reschedule it. So the first time they actually did have to cancel, which was back in May. This was the
That's
reschedule.
an important distinction, right?
Right. Only this time Amtrak canceled on them. But I do think trip insurance for anybody is important. Something
You're
worth.
always telling us. I mean, anytime I say, hey, Harry, I'm going on a vacation, it doesn't matter if I'm going to Athens, Greece, or Athens, Georgia. You tell me to get trip insurance. To Rome, Italy, or Rome, Georgia, you tell me to get trip insurance. Because, the small amount you pay, and a lot of times you tell me that you don't have to go through the provider. You don't have to go through the airline or Amtrak. You can go through any of these companies like AIG or some of these others that provide trip insurance as a third party, and you can often get a pretty good deal, no?
Yeah. I mean, there's squaremouth.com, there's insuremytrip.com. They'll compare plans. I think the last trip I took, I used American Express. I had an American Express a Delta card. And I was able to cover the vacation on that. And at the end of the day, because it was a big vacation, I paid almost $400 for the insurance, and everything was fine. And at the end, you kind of feel like you lost $400.
No, but you didn't. You bought peace of mind.
I got peace of mind. And, with COVID popping back up again, rearing its ugly head, you definitely want a policy that's got COVID in it.
You got to make sure that's in there, because if it's not in there and it's an exclusion, then it's not covered.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In this particular case, you were dealing with Amtrak. A lot of people don't realize that Amtrak isn't really a 100% private company. It's a quasi-government agency in so much as it's funded by the government, right? Or
It
at least
is
subsidized.
It is funded by the government. The government has oversight, but it is run as a for-profit company. I don't know how much money they're making, but they do operate for profit, and then they partner with Amtrak Vacations to work out these package deals. Do I think it's a great idea? Yes, because I can still look back to the time in college when I took a train and I had lunch with a guy who wrote speeches for President Carter. Back in the day, and I'm going back, to college now. But you always meet somebody interesting on the train.
Well, the current president of the United States used to be called Amtrak Joe.
That's right.
Because as a senator, he would go back and forth to Delaware on Amtrak, every week, and that was, obviously to see his kids when they were younger and without a mom. So, any other advice when dealing with specifically Amtrak vacations or looking at broader trip protection in general?
I think the key is to always have the backup plan if something goes wrong. Like I said, there are different trip insurance plans. One of them is cancel for any reason, but they're only going to give you generally, I think you can get up to 75% of your money back.
Interesting.
And that's cancel for any reason. You don't have to give them proof of why you canceled or that you have a medical condition that prevents you from going where a judgment call has to be made. It's just, that's it. But on the other hand, if you buy more coverage, they're going to have to review. What are we going to pay for? What if you had to go to the hospital, you went to Cancun and you got stuck there and now you have to fly back. I mean, these are all things that you definitely want to consider.
And if you have a medical condition, you definitely want this insurance because
absolutely.
If you have a medical emergency on a cruise ship, you may have to be airlifted off the cruise ship, and some insurance policies will actually cover that.
They will, but you want to make sure that that's included in there,
right?
Especially if you're doing a cruise. And I think cruisers know what, a lot of people who do this a lot, know what to look for. But again, you don't have to buy, if you book with Carnival or Royal Caribbean, they'll offer insurance at their site, but you don't have to go with their insurance. You can buy a trip insurance policy from anyone. You give them the amount, you tell them what you want, and you factor it, you factor that in. And it's generally about 10% of the cost of the trip. Some of them are less. You can do 5%.
Wow. And so you better get trip insurance, and if everything goes wrong, better call Harry. That's the answer, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Always great to have you here, Harry. Try saying that 10 times fast. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keith. You can watch Harry Samler's stories, of course, at atlantanewsfirst.com anytime you want. But also, you can listen to this show as a podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great night.